I had a lot of insecurities growing up. Grew up quite poor, so that had its own sort of stuff. Through MMA and competing in combat sports and going down that path, I really started feeling secure in who I am and who I was. And I didn't have a chip on my shoulder anymore.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. Just making great music. Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is an absolute cracker. This video is brought to you by, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a brand new YouTube channel, The Butterfield Effect Clips. And it is a collection of the best clips from this podcast. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go and follow it right now. It is down there. Go and press subscribe and get amongst it. And before we move on, I'm going on tour. Don't forget about that. I'm going all over the world. The link is down below as well. This podcast is with none other than an Australian bloody legend. He is the undisputed UFC Middleweight Champion of the world. It's Robert the Reaper Whittaker. We had a great conversation. He's a top bloody bloke, a good motherfucker, if ever I'd seen one. And this is our chat with Rob Whittaker. Rob, we're live.
Excellent.
Talking shit about the tax department. We can't show that on here or they'll be fucking come after us.
They will. And this will get banned, you'll see.
Fuck it, it's moments away. How you doing? How you shaping
good,
up?
Man. Very good.
Massive fight coming up in October.
Huge
October
fight.
6th.
Yes.
In Melbourne. I'm pumped. I'll be there. I can't wait. I'm gonna fucking just rip raw and ready to go. It's my first UFC event that I've been to.
Is it?
I've been to boxing events. I've never been to a live MMA event.
Mate, there's something special. I promise you that. There's something special. I've been to a lot of different sort of sporting events with certain things, especially once I started making a name for myself. Invites started flooding in. Funny enough how that works, eh? But yeah, there's something special to a UFC event. You got to give it to the company. They know how to put on a show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they play a big part in this sort of lighting and on the sound, and you can see it watching at home. I mean, I know they used to have fireworks when fighters walked out. Is that something you miss?
The smoke and fireworks.
Because they had that with the footy for years,
the corny light show. A little bit. I feel like there's a little bit of a culture loss, but but it is what it is. Like I'm happy with it.
Joe Rogan posted a video of Dave Chappelle, the comedian, walking out into his show. I can't remember where it was, but it was a massive, obviously it's Chappelle, massive, 25,000 people. And he walked out like it was a UFC event. He had a stage in the middle, probably the size of this room, and he walked out with security guards lining him, and he had no music to start. He just walked out, and the security guards walked through like you would walking into the cage. Yeah. And it was absolutely amazing. They were roaring. I think there's something to the way that UFC fighters enter the arena that is just everyone gets to see. It's close.
Yeah, I think like you said, like combat sports has been around in human history for as long as you can remember. So I think there's definitely a culture with the whole walkout, the teams with him, the final preparations of the gladiators, so to speak. You know, once they reach out there, all the fans adoring, screaming, shouting. You know, and I think that can be transcended. Like that in itself is its own little sort of dynamic.
I think that's why the UFC has become so popular, and MMA in general.
In terms of marketing and selling their product, they have nailed it. Everything about the UFC is designed to make it like desirable.
The hype machine.
The hype machine. That's all it is. It's a machine.
Absolutely. And it's making it the fastest growing sport in the world. MMA is, you could probably 10 years ago drive down the street and, there might be one gym that offers kickboxing and Muay Thai. Now it's every gym offers all of the different disciplines, and they have to.
And you almost lose out now if you don't have MMA instructors and MMA classes.
Yeah, I mean, people are into it. It's far more, for me anyway, it's more interesting than boxing, just because it's a real fight. People can do absolutely anything to try and beat their opponent, whether it be through submission or knockout or TKO. And it seems to be, for me in particular, I was a footy guy forever. My old man played for the Knights, loved footy. It was everything in my life, right? And then as people started to lose the characters, there's no more characters, there's no more shoulder charges, there's no more big collisions, there's no more fights, there's wingers running in against front rowers and grabbing them by the collars. Yeah. That's just shit. Like, why would you want to watch that?
Yeah.
As you said, we love gladiatorial sports.
Yeah, I think, like, I'm not speaking for all combat sports, but especially in the UFC, because there's small gloves and there are a lot of different ways to win a fight. It goes standing, ground, and all that sort of stuff. I believe you can really see like the human soul on show. Like you can see these guys leaving it out there for everyone to see, and it is super interesting because you don't know how it'll end. Like it's so dynamic that any little thing can change a fight. And it's just, it's a good watch. At the end of the day, it's just a good watch.
It's amazing to see some of the battles over the years.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind when you talk about the sheer human resilience is Pat Barry and what's his name? Czech Congo?
Yeah.
That fight where there is
Stupid.
It's like several moments the referee could have jumped in and said, no, that's enough.
I love watching that because like they both just go out on their back,
knees collapsing,
like eyes glazing over, and then they get back up, and then it's out again.
Oh yeah, the eyes are full Krispy Kreme.
Yeah,
they're gone.
Then they get back up and they're out again. It's just so funny to watch.
Insane, and that's the sport. This is the thing with the sport is that no one else has that.
No.
And boxing doesn't have that.
Well,
Back to your
boxing is
corner,
the 10 count, yeah.
You know, and it's not. It's sort of that thing where people want to see other people come close to death. It's why the Roman Colosseum was the place to be in the Roman times. Thousands of people getting there to watch them fight fucking tigers.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous sport, but that's why the money's there.
I think it should be brought closer. Like we've spoken about this a bunch of times on Grange TV, me and Fab, about how we should make it one 25-minute round.
Yeah.
Just one. And
well, that's what fucking
Pride used
to have. Yeah.
In the day, yeah. So just make it one 25-minute round. There's no... Like there has to be a winner. There has to be a winner, and that would be just amazing.
Well, even
the fights would change.
Even with like Eddie Bravo's Invitational, there's if you don't get a result in the first round, the first 10-minute round, then there's you get and I know it's jiu-jitsu. It's probably hard to have someone get put on top of you in the cage and just say, all right, you got full mount. All right, go for it. Defend yourself for 30 seconds. It's a bit different, but they have to find a result. And I think that's fantastic. People don't want to get a fight ended up in the hands of the judges.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, but that's the sort of the way the sport's heading. Like in terms of pushing down a route of more sports-based rather than combat-based. Because it is a sport at the end of the day. And because we have the round system and we have the referees and we have the rules in place, it is a sport and should be treated as a sport. Whereas if you wanted to make it as close to gladiatorial, like combat as you would, it'd be very different. It'd be very different.
Definitely.
And I understand that though. I understand that it is a sport and I treat it as such. Yes, we're out there punching on and we're trying to finish each other, but that's because that's what you have to do to win the sport.
And it's a great sport. And I think that the comment on how big it's growing is just the sort of a understanding with the community how much they love to see people who are willing to put it all on the line, but also train for 10 years before they get in there and bust their ass with no inclination of ever going professional. Did you see that as something from an early age with your own training? Did you see that something you were going to just waltz into? Or was that something you never saw coming?
No, I never thought I'd do it like to a point where I could make a living doing it. I'm one of the sort of cats who have very low expectations of myself. I think that comes from my childhood, to be honest.
That's good.
But when I got into it and started competing and doing it, that before I started making money from it, I just did it because I identified as a fighter. So I made that my identity and I enjoyed doing it.
It's a different mindset. It's a mindset that I just don't have. Like I've been in and tried sparring and all that type of stuff, and you see these people, they grunt down and bite down on their mouthpiece and come after you, and I'm just like, mate, I can't handle it. It's that whole flinching mentality. It's like playing footy, you happily run into people because that's your sport, you're used to it. I guess it's just getting used to it sort of thing. But people are born fighters. Yeah, I think there is a level of instinct that plays a part. Like I do think people are just born fighters. Like there are certain people I'm sure that have never had a day's fighting mentality or day's fight or been super played fighting video games or anything. They've done absolutely nothing to do with any sort of conflict. Not an aggressive bone in their body.
But then they get pushed or they get it put on and they have to choose fight or flight and they just bite down on the mouthpiece, as you said. They bite down on the mouthpiece and just get to work.
Something that I thought was really interesting that you said last week on Grange TV, which is Rob's podcast, and it's a great podcast. You should go and listen and subscribe immediately. Was talking about street fights, seeing those videos, those world star hip hop sort of people carrying on like that you really dislike.
Well, yeah, I can't stand them. So don't take. No, I'm not going to say that because they're going to start smashing.
Don't say it's the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand wanted a photo taken down off the internet, and then everyone put it everywhere.
Yeah.
As soon as you say you don't want something on the internet, people hammer you.
100%. Or because we've gone this far with it, I'm already done.
You're gone. It's all over.
But I hate seeing that stuff. I hate seeing those clips. I hate seeing people fighting each other because I honestly do feel that most conflicts can be sorted with just like working it out another way other than hitting each other. And I see it as so stupid unless you're defending yourself, given proper reasons. Like if you're defending yourself or your loved ones from harm, you got to do what you got to do.
Someone's coming after you need to react.
That's a different situation. Like if you're beefing because one dude called you something and you can't handle that, and like it doesn't make sense. Like you're just hurting each other. And
you see it all the time though.
I don't understand it because like I make a living out of this. Like, if you're not getting paid for it, why would you do it? What would you do? It's like an electrician just going to someone's house and just wiring up their house for free. Being like, no worries, mate, it's on me. It's like, why would you do that? Like, it's work.
And it never ends. It never ends well for either party. Someone's going to get knocked out, or there's going to be tears. Or I used to work in pubs, and you'd see a fight every night. You'd work, and it was my job to break them up. And they're always just dickheads, just screaming at each other like, I'm a boxer or all that type of stuff. I used to hear, did you know he's a boxer, bro? I heard it fucking every shift. I was like, mate, not everyone's a fucking boxer.
It seems like there's a lot.
There's
like,
a lot of boxers.
Start working that pub scene, it seems like every second bloke is a boxer.
He's a good fighter, bro.
Yeah, there's been a trend. Everyone just picked it up.
One fight I did see was a dude was carrying on like a pork chop, threatening or talking shit to someone's missus or just being an asshole. And then a random dude just like sort of walked up. And a general fighting stance from what I've seen is sort of up like that, right? This dude did the old school, these ones, and like knocked him out in like within a second. It was the most hectic thing I've ever seen because he took old mate's sort of by him surprise. He was like, old mate's thinking, why is this dude sort of standing like that? And he just went like that, and he was out.
Can I ask why the fuck was Batman in the pub?
He was full. He was circling him. I dare you to throw the first one.
Why was like Batman, like the people's champion, looking for a fight? Like, don't jump in people's fights, man. Unless like you're saving him.
I don't think he even knew him.
Yeah,
he just waltzed in.
He was looking for a fucking fight.
Yeah. And there are people that are genuinely out there just trying to. You see them in nightclubs, stand there staunching everyone.
Yeah, but they don't pick like come to the gym.
Yeah,
like, fight properly.
Yeah, and that's what I found after I've started training in an MMA gym over the past year. That the most staunch looking dudes are often the nicest people when they get in the gym. They're just nice people, polite. Hello, how are you?
I found that when I was growing up, because obviously I had a lot of insecurities growing up. Grew up quite poor, so that had its own sort of stuff. But through MMA and competing in combat sports and going down that path, I've found that you don't need, I really started feeling secure in who I am and who I was. And I didn't have a chip on my shoulder anymore. It's humbling when you get picked up and dumped on your head. It just is a humbling thing to happen. You realize, you know what, I'm not always going to be top dog. And I'm cool with that.
You have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be within yourself.
There's always someone bigger than you.
And it's a lesson not just for fighting or not just sport, but for life.
Yeah.
Like at some point, something's going to happen. You're going to be dumped on your head, and it's how you react to it. Do you go into a shell, or do you go, okay, how do I avoid that happening again?
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing for a lot of young people to hear. And we were talking about this before. Like if I ever have daughters, I want them to be involved in mixed martial arts in some way. Whether it's just, some slight kickboxing or whatever, where they're hitting pads or hitting bags, or just jiu-jitsu. I found that jiu-jitsu was an amazing thing for me, not only for just, normal health and training when I'm not away on the road. It's a good way to learn a lot about yourself. I remember having almost this epiphany driving home from the gym one day, Warrior World Gym in Newcastle, fucking good on you. And Paulie, who you met the other week, he trains me down there. And I think it was him. He was like full full mount on top of me, and I was just in all sorts. He had his legs pushing my legs out, and if you don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, it's a very uncomfortable position to be in. And I sort of have learned over time that in that position, your move is to slow your breathing down, think about what you're doing, and work on your escape. And I think that's a good attitude for life. If people are they're piling on all this pressure, as you said before, you've had an enormous amount of media coming in. You've had no chance to sit down and relax. One of the big moves you need to be doing, working into one of the biggest fights of the year. And all this pressure, but you have learned through MMA, through life and experience that you just ride with it, roll with the punches, take it moment by moment.
Yeah, you start at the top and work your way down, and then you do find those like moments of relief, and where you can just go sit down and relax, and you have to really understand that moment for what it is. This is my time to relax, and you need to unwind. You can't be half working while relaxing. You need to just relax.
Relaxing is a skill.
It is hard. It is hard, and you see a lot of successful people struggle to do it.
It is. It's like not saying I'm a successful person, but I really struggle to relax and unwind. Unless if I don't have everything done for a week that I need to get done, relaxing is not an option. But I found when I started training, because I started working as a full-time comedian and making YouTube videos, so I didn't have a job. I didn't have this normal routine, and I sort of just started to just go sort of batshit at home, like a bit of cabin fever sort of thing. It wasn't until I set my routine out that started with training every morning and working on something different, which was a skill, which was like the kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever it was for the day, that had such a benefit and allowed me to relax later on.
Yeah, well, a routine in itself will help with that. Like, routine is everything, I find. Like, knowing where you got to be, what you got to do, what time it is, so that, it's time to relax, you switch into it. And then, it's time to be at training, you switch on for that. Like, it's just, routine is everything. And that's why these media weeks are so hard for me, because they throw me out of my routine. And then, like, when you come back into the week of work, it's you're backlogged almost. It's weird.
What does a media week look like for you? Because you've just been in Melbourne, you've been shooting the press conference.
For the ticket release, the conference and everything like that. Like, so I went down on...
And you're in Sydney?
Yeah, media week started Sydney, and it's just, you're picked up early in the morning, and you just you go to location A, interview, photos, location B, interview, location C, interview, like, that's it. And you just do that the whole day. And then you go back home. But let's say it does finish at that point. Sometimes though, which is super annoying, they do interviews the whole day, give you 3-hour break, and then you have another little thing to do at night, which means you can't unwind, you can't switch off. But let's say you don't. You do all your interviews, you switch off, and then like 7 o'clock at night, you try to sleep, unwind, relax. But sometimes, like, you have to train because you're fighting. So you need to train for that. So you're trying to hit your sessions as well, and then you got to get up early the next day to be on radio shows, and you got to do it all again. And you just do that the whole week. And then there's the actual press conference. You got to see your opponent, which brings its own level of stresses, and you got to deal with him, and then you got to deal with the presser, how you speak, it's just a lot of work. Mentally, it's a lot of work, not physically.
Definitely.
Just mentally, it's a lot of work.
And it affects your sleep. It affects all those type of things.
Yeah, you're not sleeping right. You're traveling. You're standing up all day. You're uncomfortable. You're sitting in the car all day. It's just tiring. And then you have to come home and jump back into your routine. But you feel like shit from the week before. Remember how we were talking about my spreadsheets and my loads and everything? All that's, calculated so that I don't feel like this ever. But that is just throwing a spanner in the works and mucks everything up. So the next week has to change a little bit to accommodate that. People don't realize like how much. It's like, why don't you just go to Melbourne and watch X fight? It's like, because that takes a week out of training. And then imagine if I had to go to like Vegas to see watch the fights over there, or like we spoke before, go on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm sure I'd love to do that and do some podcast tours over there. But the problem is, it's like 20 hours to get there, and then there's the whole, like doing everything when you work there, the jet lag when you get there, jet lag when you get back, how you feel the weeks after it. It's just nightmare.
Have you thought about changing your camp to being over there? Is that sort of something that's encouraged from the UFC?
Yeah, I've thought about it, and there are a lot of opportunities to moving over there, and there's a lot of benefits to moving over there. Just, there's just America. It's just a bigger country. There's just more opportunities, like in terms of like finances and media obligations and sponsors and all that sort of stuff. But, mate, honestly, we live in the best country in the world. We live in the best country in the world, and my kids love it here. I want to raise my kids here. My family's here. You know, I realised I would just be, I'd just be trying to drive to achieve over there what I already have here. You know, money's not everything to me. I'm like one of those guys. A lot of people say, "Oh, money's not everything." And I believe it's not everything.
And you've come from that background where money isn't the biggest thing.
But it's good to have money, though.
Of course.
Because you don't like stressing about money. Yeah. You know, I'm not silly enough to think like I don't even need money. Nah, I need money.
Yeah.
I just don't need heaps of it in my bank account doing nothing.
Yeah, of course. And as long as your family's happy, your missus is happy, and your kids are happy.
Yeah.
And you live in a nice place.
Yeah, that's all I want.
Mate, I get to travel around Australia. I haven't been around the world yet, working on that later in the year. And it's amazing how much I love where I live. Because I live in Newcastle. It's a maximum 10-minute trip to the beach. There's no traffic. Everything's cruisy. Everyone's relaxed. Everyone's got that big view of the ocean. Mate, there's no stress there.
Yeah.
It's a fucking beautiful. And when I come to Sydney, I lose that.
Yeah.
And I know when I came out to your studio the other week and it wasn't through the city, I was like, oh, this exists out here.
Yeah, but even that for me is like a bit too much. I live further out, so another 20 minutes out where it's like almost bush. It's like rural.
Okay.
And I love going outside and just seeing bush trees, not hearing cars. And like it's just, that is my tranquil.
Like I lived in Melbourne for a month for the comedy festival. And it's amazing how quickly you adapt. But the first couple of days was just like, this is fucking full on.
I've got to admit, but the Uber Eats there is pretty good.
How good's the fucking Uber Eats? You can get
so
pizza
good.
at 12 o'clock at night.
Dude, like I remember getting these Greek donuts. What are they called? I don't know. But my mate's going to kill me because he's Greek and his dad makes them for me all the time, but I forget. But they're like Greek donuts with Nutella glaze and Nutella filled. And I remember ordering them at like 12:30. Just been like, man, this place is the best.
Yeah, and some dude in the freezing cold in the pouring rain just turns up with donuts.
Yeah, and rings me up and be like, can you come down and get, I'm like, nah, brother. You go to concierge, you press the buzzer, and you come up.
Put them on my plate.
I put it in the notes, you are coming to my room.
That man, I don't know how they make a profit out of living like delivering food, because it's so cheap. They get like $5 for delivery.
Yeah, I hats off to them.
Absolutely.
Because I couldn't do it, but we need them.
I did it. I used to deliver pizzas for a job when I left school. And I look back on it recently and I found out for like a 6-hour shift, I made $50 and like 30 went into petrol. They didn't pay me petrol. I was working for like $20 a night, but I got a free pizza at the end of the night. And I was a big fat fuck. I was laughing. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Free food.
Mate, that seems rough. But then I didn't have my license until I was about 20.
Yeah.
So.
But it's amazing. Like
slow on that.
I needed those shit jobs to get to the point where I was sitting down only like 2 years ago going, okay, I'm a comedian, that's what I know what I want to do, but it's too hard for me to go to Sydney every single night and work at the same time. Here, I finish at 5 o'clock, I can't get there until 8 o'clock, and get back until 2 o'clock or whatever. YouTube's the way to do it, to get an audience, to reach out. And without having those bad jobs and that struggle, I never would have worked hard enough to get to where I am now, which is nowhere where I want to be. I want to be much more involved in a lot of different things and working harder and all that type of stuff. But I wouldn't have got there unless I had all these shit time, these struggles and all that type of stuff when it comes to work. You got to learn that worth ethic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
but it's the same with you, growing up poor. Like you need to learn the hard way to work hard and somehow work out how to provide for your family.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like I'm with myself because I'm definitely the sort of cat that needs to learn the hard way. Like I didn't switch on for my career really until after my back-to-back losses, and meeting Fabricio with my high performance coach, and working with him. Like I didn't start working there. But in saying that though, hell, if I got there though without focusing on what I was doing, just because I was talented at what I do. So that's very real, like me just getting through it and getting to that point and having that as opportunity. So I took a lot of things for granted, and I realized that, and I realized that looking back, it's very hard to sit down and look at yourself critically and accept other people's feedback about you, and accept other people's criticism of you, and being like, you know what, you have a good point. And in doing that, I managed to reform myself, build myself back up into what I am today.
Particularly for a young person. You're only, what, 28?
Yeah.
Like, Christ. When your back-to-back losses several years ago now, like you're looking at yourself and trying to be critical at what, 25, 24?
23.
How can you be critical about yourself at 23?
Yeah.
Most 23-year-olds are just shelving pingers and pounding like pork chops every weekend. That's all they're doing.
100%. Like, and I was very fortunate though. I had a great partner, my wife Sophia. Like, she was the one that was also spurring me on, me like, yeah, go, you can do this. And I don't know, like, it's just, yeah, like I said, met Fab and all those things combined at the right time just meant, I had a real hard sit down and been like, you know what, I got to change this up. I got to fix something. Something's broken.
It's a conscious decision. And having people around like Fab, like, he's a great dude. Like, I've only met him once, but like, I'll see that dude anytime the rest of my life. Like, hey, he's here, great dude just to have around. And it's important to have those sort of people around you. And what you said before was really interesting, just to change the subject, about seeing your opponent. Now, you're facing Stylebender, Israel Adesanya, who's also at the back of the hype machine at the moment. What is it like seeing the dude you're taking on in what is built up to be, and probably very much is, a big moment in your career, just seeing him just there?
I hate it. I hate it. No one wants to see the guy that has to fight. Like, he doesn't like it. I don't like it. No one likes it. UFC likes it. Fans like it.
Fans like it.
But we don't like it. Like, I don't want to see this guy. I'm going to have to punch on with him soon. Like, I hate this character with every fiber of my being. Yeah, like, it's just hard like that. It's hard like
the
that.
Character. How do you mean the character?
No, that guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see him.
Yeah.
Like, until...
But you have to hate that person.
Yeah.
Not the person, but...
I don't hate him in the sense, like, where at night I'm thinking up malicious thoughts. Like, but I hate him in the sense, like, you're just the opponent right now. And I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to see you until we fight.
And your attitude towards press conferences is not sort of the loudmouth sort of attitude, which I know you don't really enjoy. And that's just your personality.
Yeah.
And do you have much pushback against that? People trying to say, hey, come on, why don't you?
All the time. Since my career, they're like, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, and you can see it with the way my media, my platforms, social media platforms, like, they didn't skyrocket off the thing. I was never the hype train. I was the poor guy. I was the guy they had to fight every hype train. Every fighter that was on a hype, like, was on a roll, had like 6 back-to-back wins, was the next big thing the UFC were pumping up. They put him against me. Derek Brunson, Uriah Hall, Jacare, Romero. Like, they said, here you go, Rob. Like, add to their collection, and I put them away. And that's how I built my brand. Like, I'm gonna do me. That's what I've stuck to my guns.
Those 2 fights against Romero, we spoke about that last week on your podcast, and it's one of the things that from someone who's not a fighter, to look at someone like Romero. I had this thing when I was playing footy that regardless of how big I am, I still looked at big people and was like, oh, fuck, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
Standing across the cage from him, obviously, maybe the first time is probably the better example of it. What was that like, seeing that dude that's just like...
The second time was worse.
Second time was worse?
Do you know how much bigger he was that second time?
How much bigger was he?
Fucking huge. He was huge, man. Like, he was so big.
And it was noticeable for you.
I remember looking at him and be like, what the fuck did you eat last night? Like, how do I look like that? Like...
Asada's just going...
Yeah, there was nowhere to be seen. RDO.
The golden snitch is gone. He's out of the building.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it was just like, he's so big.
Yeah, and he's just like, he's the perfect specimen. Like, I blokes talking about other blokes' bodies is very seldom. But to look at him and you just go, how? Yeah. How are you doing that? Like, what are you eating in Cuba? Like, just smashing Cuban sandwiches and it just gives you this perfect fucking rig. But yeah, his fights against you, and he blew out your knee early in the first fight, and you broke your hand early in the second fight. Yeah. So to come out of both of those fights just battered, absolutely. That's actually, forget that question. What do you feel like the day after a fight? Because I playing footy, you're sore.
Yeah,
you're sore.
Very sore.
I can imagine very sore.
But it depends. Like, obviously, if you've won, it's all good.
Yeah.
Like, the pain's all right. But if you've lost, you're just sore and depressed.
Like, are you going straight to the hospital after a fight, or
It depends. It depends what it is, like how bad it was,
Yeah.
how bad the injuries are.
Like Mike Perry's the other week. That was horrendous.
Yeah, I think he needed to go straight to the hospital.
Because he had, and I'm sure we'll put an image up on the screen, but Mike Perry had a very similar incident to Robbie O'Davis. Now, Robbie O'Davis used to play rugby league here in Australia, and he broke his nose probably in the same direction from an elbow from someone running through the line. But he also, and Perry was pretty lucky, Robbie O'Davis broke the inside of his palate, the top of the roof of his mouth.
Really? Can you do that?
Yeah, apparently. He just copped, that's how hard he got hit with this elbow from some front rower running through as hard as he could. And he broke the inside of his palate and the nose, and it was all fucked up. So Perry, although he broke his nose and he looked a bit shit, he got away pretty lucky.
His nose was on the side of his face.
I know.
Like, that was... as such.
Could you imagine like looking at yourself after a fight, just going,
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
you're
I don't want to.
right.
You know what I'm picturing?
No.
Being like doing this. You're like, where is it? Like, what is this? like just like, because you know when you get hit and you think you got cut, or when you had a knock in footy and something hurt, you'd be like,
yeah, the old check. You're like, oh no, we're right.
Yeah,
I get that with like door frame squat.
Yeah, it's like, so it's not too bad, just bleeding. How big is it? It's like with his nose, he would have been like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it just keeps
like,
going.
Oh,
this has never happened.
Yeah,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
like, I don't think this is normal.
It's one of the worst injuries, like ones you can actually see, apart from obviously like Anderson Silva's leg and all that type of stuff. But just terrifying, just from, I think it was from an elbow, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was just terrible.
It was terrible. So how are you focusing your training? Does it change much going in again from Romero to Adesanya?
No, I'm just doing what I do best. Just train, be me, do my own things. Obviously, there's some small adjustments so that I can capitalize on some things I saw in his last fights and whatnot.
Sure.
But more or less, I just do what I'm good at. I'm gonna just get better holistically in like my grappling and my striking, and then just go in there and take the fight to him.
Yeah. I'm very confident in you.
Yeah,
I know that means a lot coming from me, but I'm pumped. I cannot wait.
I'm pumped.
It's going to be a great fight. I mean, with you, and I won't ask too much about training. Obviously, you got to keep things to yourself. But how do you spar quite a bit, and how heavy do you go?
Yeah, we have sparring blocks where we get sparring, and when we are sparring, we spar very hard.
Yes,
very hard. Everything is set up in a way that it's to resemble a fight.
Because you see a lot of fighters. John Cerrone talked about it maybe a year ago or so about not sparring much at all. Do you think
I don't spar that? I don't spar that much. We have blocks, like I said. Like we spar for a few weeks and then we don't spar.
Yeah.
And I don't need a lot of sparring. Like you don't. I think once you reach a certain level, you don't need a lot of sparring. You know, because brain damage is real.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a real concern, and everyone who's in a contact sport should be focusing on it. Like I'm paying attention. Well, not focusing on it.
Can you do that?
But at least pay attention to it.
Can you focus on it? Well, can you pay attention to it and still compete?
Yeah.
Like how do you? Because obviously you can, because you're doing it right now. But how do you sort of like? How do you negotiate that within your own mind? Like, okay, this is worth it, but I just have to protect myself in a way.
Yeah. Well, it's just you don't do things. Like, we don't spar a lot because there's no need. The benefits won't outweigh the brain damage you get. Like, we just went in every night sparring hard and rounds. Like, you're just going to take down brain damage. Yeah. Like, you're not going to get that much better opposed to, like, just wrestling or anything else. And obviously putting time limits on my careers and giving myself the appropriate amount of rest in between fights and things like that. Like they're all very important. I have a very smart team that make sure they keep an eye for all that, and everything is calculated and adjusted.
It's actually probably quite a bit safer, and a lot of people just disagree with this or haven't really thought about it. But you compare it to NRL or NFL, that the head knocks are different. I mean, you're getting punched in the face, you're getting knocked out, and it's a concern. But you also don't then fight for another 6, 8, etc. Amount of months. Whereas you get knocked out playing footy, you're playing back 2 weeks later.
Or you're put on.
Or you get put back on and you get knocked out again. Or you go to training and you're having hit-ups. This is the thing with the CTE, the chronic traumatic encephalopathy. You're having these subconcussive injuries, so your brain's slapping into the skull. Every hit-up, every tackle. At least if you're sparring, sure, it might be for 30 minutes or 5 rounds or whatever. But you play footy, it might happen 100 times a game.
Yeah, very real.
And there's no wonder people are fucked up after they play that sort of sport.
Yeah, and they have those long careers.
Long careers. And I mean, I guess there's a couple of people that came out and spoke about it in the NRL saying that it's going to be over and people won't play anymore. I don't think that's true. I think what will happen is people will be, they'll be concerned about it, but people have been concerned about their own health their entire lives. But people make these decisions that you have faith within yourself that you're going to beat this person and you can protect yourself. And I guess the right policies are put in place, like there's a referee there to help out if need be. To sort of minimise the damage, but also risk and reward. Like you want to compete. You want to beat someone. You want to bash the shit out of someone. And that's what you want to do. That's your sport.
Yeah.
I think that's what people still, like even on the news, people still look at MMA and they go, oh, cage fighting. I don't know about that. Like still.
It's ridiculous. Like it's just like any other combat sports.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, don't know, but they're coming around. They are coming around. We've definitely, MMA as a sport has definitely moved into a mainstream light, like especially in Australia. Australia was slow as well, so it definitely has moved into that mainstream sort of sports genre now.
And I think that's thanks to the outspoken ones, and McGregor's probably one of those people that have helped bring it in. Did you see the footage allegedly of Conor McGregor punching an old man in the face?
No.
Okay, well, check that out. It's very, very interesting. He's in a bar, allegedly, and there's just an old dude there, and they're arguing, and then there's just a big left hand straight into the side of his head. There's just Conor McGregor punching this old dude.
Why?
Don't know. It came out last week. We'll play it now in the podcast, but I'll send it to you later. It's very, very strange.
Sounds terrible.
I don't even know if it's like, because nothing's really come out of it legally, so I don't know if it's like a marketing campaign or what.
Yeah.
It's maybe Prophet 12 is really trying to push the boundaries. What are your thoughts on people like him?
I think before he started doing like crazy stuff, like throwing that trolley in the bus and all that other stuff, it's just... There's hyping up the fight, and then there's just personally trying to hurt people, like trying to take digs at people, like jeopardizing people's careers, livelihood. Throwing that trolley in the bus was ridiculous. Like glass went everywhere. What if, like, you got glass in your eye and you went blind?
Yeah, like, old mate did. What's his name?
Yeah, he got glass in the eye, but thankfully he didn't go blind.
Yeah,
but imagine like someone actually got blind. Like, sorry, he's not gonna fix anything.
Their life is ruined because you've made a split decision to be
to hype up the fight, to make yourself look cool. That's not a game. We're not playing. Like, I'm not part of your joke. I'm not part of your hype. Like,
so the Aldo thing was great when he grabbed the belt in the middle of Ireland. It's disrespectful, it's mean, but it hypes the fight.
Yeah,
everyone makes a lot of money.
No one gets hurt.
But throwing a dolly through a bus,
no.
Come on, dude.
That's too much.
Of course it's too much.
Too much.
And then the UFC uses it as hype footage. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. We won't talk about that. So how are you feeling walking into this? You're ready to go?
Honestly, best I've ever been. This is the best I've ever been in any fight. Like, I am pumped to get in there. There's the nerves of every fight, but I'm excited. I'm hungry for this fight.
Absolutely, and I think Australia's excited to see it.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I owe them one. So.
Inside 2 rounds. Inside 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm fucking pumped. I can't wait. Connor's asking me, does your family get scared when you fight? Great question, Connor.
My kids are too young to really care.
Yeah. How does your missus treat it? Because obviously it's your profession.
You know what the thing is, though? Like, my missus has always been supportive. Like, that's the great thing about being with her before I even started this. It was like she's been there since the beginning through. The only thing is, though, she's only witnessed me as I am, which is normally on the winning side.
Yeah, okay.
I'm looking forward to waiting to see her reaction when I cop a absolute terrible hiding.
Well, it almost in that sport has to happen at some point.
Mate, Mark Hunt said there's a hiding waiting for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, coming for everyone. And I believe it. I believe it. It's there.
Well, at some point you just drop off, and there's some young dude that's coming through the ranks. And,
Yeah.
who's been training his whole life.
Hopefully, I can exit before my hiding comes.
And that's the move.
That's the trick.
Some people can do that.
Like GSP.
GSP, yeah.
Beautiful.
One wins the belt, goes, all right,
I'm done.
back into retirement.
Peace.
Everyone's like, oh.
Look, just proved I'm the best at everything. See you later. Like I thought he's just great fighter, great guy, great marketing, very smart, very, very smart. He did everything perfectly. He is an ideal role model of an athlete and an MMA athlete.
Just seems like such a lovely dude.
Yeah.
Just carries himself, much like you. Like you carry yourself nicely through everything. There's nothing aggressive about absolutely anything that you do until that cage door shuts.
Yeah.
And then you do your job and you walk out and you're happy.
Yeah.
I think that's something that the UFC should definitely jump more behind.
Yeah, that's the way it should be because I don't know. My whole thing is that I just want to be a role model for my kids. I want my kids to, like, I can't do dumb stuff and then get mad at them for doing dumb stuff and be like, I hope my kids don't turn out like me. Like they are because you do dumb shit. So I just want to be someone my kids can show their friend and be like, look, this is my dad. He's not doing anything stupid.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, and also in saying that, the UFC isn't hyping and all that type of stuff, you are doing your own stuff. You're on Twitch.
Yeah.
What's your Twitch handle for anybody? That
Rob
camera
Whittaker,
right there. What do we got?
Rob Whittaker MMA on all my socials and Twitch.
Beautiful.
And Grange TV as well, the podcast. Yeah, we're building up. We have a lot of little projects, on the side that we're working apart from fighting, because fighting is one spectrum of life. Like it's one tiny slither. Obviously it's my main focus, and it's what I capitalize on the most, and it's what I'm good at. It's what I do. But we are doing a lot of other things as well.
You're not going to be fighting at 35.
No, I don't want to be. That's my exit age.
You set this foundation, and you build upon it with the things like Twitch and Grange TV and all those type of stuff. Or you're a well-spoken person. You've got your gyms opening up, all that type of stuff. And I mean, that's what an athlete in your position or anyone younger should be sort of focusing for.
Yeah.
Is life with footballers. It's life after footy. Fighters, life after fighting.
Yeah.
It exists.
Yeah, it does, and there's a lot more of it. Like say I get to 35, I would have fought for 15 years, maybe, about 15 years of my life, really.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
But another 70 years.
Yeah, but I got 70 on the back of it. Like I said, I'll only be 35. There are guys in the UFC just getting into the UFC at 35. Like,
Ramirez, 42, 41?
Something like that. Like, I think Cormier didn't get into the UFC till 33.
Wow.
Or something like that. 31 maybe. It was definitely after 30s. But like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I want to be wrapping things up. So, and then enjoying every other aspect of life, like taking my kids to footy, working the old sausage sizzle, like with the apron on. Like, that's what I want to be doing. I want to enjoy the next stage of life. I don't want to be hanging on to this fighter, like being fighting. I don't want to fight when I'm 40. Like, screw that. Like, I want to be doing all the other fun stuff, like the next stage of living. Because I had done this, I've capitalized on everything I can. I'm making money elsewhere. I'm working other jobs. Like, there's just more to it. It's like, why brand myself as one thing for my entire life?
What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life?
Well, obviously, we're building up the podcast. Yep. Grange TV.
Grange TV. Check it out immediately, right now. Okay, the link's down below.
We have our gyms we're running and we're coaching at in Gracie Artarmon and Gracie Smith Grange. Both gyms are just building them up. We look to open up more. We have a great fight team. Their careers are like a kind of boom. They're going to be in the UFC. My fight team is going to be in the UFC within the year. Mark my words, they'll be there. They're going to be killers. But outside of that, like I'd like to move into like some sort of speaking position in some form. Working on that sort of angles. But also, more importantly, I want to be a dad, and I want to do dad stuff. Like I said before, I want to take my kids to football.
Of course.
I want to do the sausage sizzle on the weekends. Probably once because I'll hate it and I'm a terrible cook.
Fuck that, yeah. You go once, you go, that's it for the year,
100%.
Right?
Okay, that's me. That's my charity.
Yeah.
But just things like that, like picking my kids up from school, making that lunch, which I'll probably do once again, and then give them cash.
Yeah, great. Just get lunch orders, bro.
I can't picture.
It's all about lunch orders. Couple of finger buns, couple of pikelets. You're laughing.
But I just want to do that sort of stuff. There's so much more.
Do you pay any attention to the fighters that are coming up in the ranks, opposed to looking at, like while you're looking at Adesanya, you're watching the fight with Romero, on the weekend?
I watched the fight, but now all my sights are just set on Adesanya.
Yeah.
They're just set on him. I can't think about anything else. I can't think about anybody in the division. I can't think about fights after. It's just him.
You couldn't. There's too much going on. You'd have to be, particularly, I guess that's for people who are like fringe fans of the UFC or MMA in general. There's so much that goes into a fight. It's not just going out there and throwing hands. It's working on the smallest insecurities in someone's game and trying to exploit them.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you watch fights? How much do you take in from his previous fights or anyone's previous fights? Do you have video sessions?
No. So I've seen him fight because I do watch the fights because we break them down and whatnot on the podcast. But my coaches do a lot of the tape review and do watch a lot of tape. They watch hundreds of hours of tape, hundreds and hundreds of hours of tape, and they're the ones that say, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this because Adesanya does this. Or they'll say, if I need to watch it, they'll be like, Rob, I want you to watch this part or this fight, in particular, this one. And just, and that's how we work. I don't watch a lot of tape on my opponents because I don't want to watch him winning fights. Screw him.
Mentally, that's got to be like, it's a ploy, you know, from if you're watching your opponent get his hand raised, you don't want to be doing that shit.
No.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Prick. Well, mate, I tell you what, October 6th, I'm pumped. Mate, inside 2 rounds, take his head off. Is that, you're allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Take his fucking head off.
I'm going to try and take his head off.
Little shit. Congratulations, mate. On such a fucking great career so far, and you got another 10 years, 8 years, until 35.
Right.
Keep the championship.
Thank you so much,
all
mate.
over it.
Really
Mate,
appreciate it.
Mate, I do my best. What can I say? Robert Whittaker, ladies and gentlemen, anything else you want to say to that camera?
No, I think it's all been said, mate. Honestly, we
Ladies and
hit it up. Follow me, follow my story, follow me on my socials. Yeah, it's going to be cracker.
Rob Whittaker, absolute fucking legend, and the champion of the world, and still on October 6th. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. If you haven't left a review on iTunes, are you fucking kidding yourself? Get stuck into it. The best review will get me. I'll swing past and wash your car, hang out with the kids for the afternoon. I'll be just be a good bloke. Anyway, go and do that right bloody now. Make sure you subscribe. Check out Rob in all his socials, which will be listed down below. And don't forget to check out Grange TV as well. Anything else, Connor? Tour. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on tour if you haven't already worked that out. I only talk about it 6 times a fucking week, but I'll be all over the country. Newcastle, Sydney, come and see those big shows there. We're at the Enmore in Sydney. It's going to be an absolute massive show. The link is down below as well. Anyway, that's enough from me. Bye.
And then later, I got this message saying, Georgia, you've been catfished. This is fake. These photos are from a boy that died 5 years ago. This person is using the photos to get your attention and all this stuff. And I was like, holy shit.